The scale in our family had been tilted for as long as I could remember. Every ounce of expectation, every drop of love, every bit of resources, all of it, without question, was poured onto my younger brother, Mike. In our seemingly quiet and peaceful Midwest town, the belief in male superiority wasn't screamed out loud. It was everywhere, like dust in the air, invisible, unquestioned, and deadly in its subtlety. It didn't come in the form of blatant discrimination, but something far more insidious: boundless indulgence and unconditional giving. I remember my 7th birthday clearly. I got a hardcover edition of Charlotte's Web, and I was thrilled. Mike, on his 8th birthday, got a brand new BMX bike that gleamed under the sun. That bike was more than just a gift, it was a symbol. Mike was the sun around which our family orbited. My parents threw him a lavish party, with neighbors and friends flooding our yard. My birthdays, by contrast, were usually a slice of cake and a happy birthday muttered over dinner. I never complained, because complaining was pointless. It would only be seen as jealousy. So I learned silence. I found comfort in solitude and stories. That silence trained me to be an observer. I watched how people in our town played out the theater of life. Mr. Miller, who ran the hardware store at the corner, always wore faded flannel shirts and drove a creaky old Ford truck, but quietly owned half of Main Street. Meanwhile, the Garcia family next door would rent a brand new Cadillac Escalade every 2 years and throw extravagant barbecues on their lawn, only to argue with their landlord the next week over unpaid rent. These contrasts engraved a truth in me: real wealth is quiet. The ones who shout the loudest often have the least to show. That realization became a guiding principle in my life. School was my sanctuary. Knowledge didn't care about your gender or your family's bank account. In middle school, I got into a boarding school out of town, the first time I felt like I'd escaped legitimately. Weekly trips home felt more like prison visits. During summer and winter breaks, I would find excuses to work at my aunt's grocery store or volunteer at the library, anything to avoid our Mike-centric household. After high school, while my classmates took the college paths their parents had paved, I chose a state university hundreds of miles away. I applied for student loans and worked part-time to cover tuition and living expenses. My parents didn't object, maybe because they figured I'd get married eventually and didn't see the point of investing too much. That suited me just fine. Those 4 years were the freest and most fulfilling of my life. I earned my first paycheck, tasted real hardship, and felt, perhaps for the first time, that I was whole, independent, and not just someone's daughter or sister. After graduation, I stayed in the city and found a job at a cozy coffee shop that always smelled like espresso and warm bread. That's where I met David. He wasn't the kind of man who took your breath away at first glance. He was calm, composed, always in business casual attire, sitting by the window with his laptop and black coffee. He often met clients there to discuss building materials and construction projects, conversations I never fully understood. There was no dramatic meet-cute. Just nods, smiles, occasional small talk. But the sincerity in his eyes, his quiet confidence, his attentiveness, it warmed me gradually like a slow, steady stream. Our relationship unfolded naturally. During a deep conversation, I learned something that surprised me. This soft-spoken man ran a successful building supply company, inherited from his father and grown by his own hand. His humility and low profile reminded me of the quiet wealth I'd observed all my life. That made me trust him deeply. Before we got engaged, I had what might be the most important conversation of my life. I told him everything: my family's favoritism, my brother's entitlement, my complex views on money. "David," I looked him in the eye, "if you want to marry me, I need to ask something that might sound strange." He held my hand and urged me to go on. "I want us to live a life of fictional poverty, at least in front of my family. I don't want them to know your actual financial status. Let's say you drive a truck for UPS. Let's say the house is mortgaged and owned by your parents. Let's even complain now and then about bills or daycare costs. And please, your Facebook and Instagram? Block all of my relatives." David was silent for a long time. His face shifted from surprise to confusion, then settled into something deeper: understanding, empathy. He didn't ask for more details. He just hugged me and said, "I get it. Sarah, I love you, not your family history. I'll go along with whatever makes you feel safe. Your family is my family, but our life is ours to define." With his support, the weight in my chest lifted. I had found a partner who'd stand with me. We had a small, intimate wedding. At the ceremony, David did what I asked. He handed my mother an envelope with $20,000 in cash. I'll never forget her face. She pretended to decline, murmuring, "Oh, you shouldn't," but her fingers clutched the envelope tightly. As I turned away to greet guests, I caught a glimpse of her pulling my father into a corner, counting the bills like a girl counting candy. That image pierced my heart like a needle. 2 years later, Mike got married. My parents threw him an extravagant wedding that drained nearly all their savings. David and I, as the struggling sister and brother-in-law, gave him a $3,000 gift. Mike took the envelope, clapped David on the shoulder, and with a smug grin said, "Hey man, you guys are really scraping by and still gave us this much respect." I smiled. Inside, I felt cold. That fake gratitude, bought with real money, felt like a sandcastle, pretty but ready to collapse. And I didn't know then, but the tide was already coming in. Marriage didn't mature Mike. Instead, it gave him a bigger stage to burn through money. That stage came in the form of online sports betting, an invisible casino connected to his desires by a single wire. The secret unraveled on an ordinary Tuesday. My father called, his voice trembling with panic and shame. "Sarah, can you talk?" "Dad? What's wrong?" There was a long silence, only his heavy breathing on the line. Then barely audible. "Your brother. Mike, he's been gambling online. He's in debt. Over $50,000. $50,000. It didn't shock me. Instead, it felt inevitable. I could picture my dad pacing the living room in panic, my mother dabbing invisible tears with a handkerchief. "What did he say?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "He says he was just unlucky, that he almost won it all back. Says they tricked him. That they're loan sharks. He says they threatened to come to the house if he doesn't pay next week." "Dad, calm down," I interrupted. "This isn't about luck. It's about addiction. What are you planning to do?" "What can we do? He's your brother. We can't just let those people hurt him. We were going to pay them off. And after that? How do you know he won't gamble again?" "He promised." He got down on his knees and swore it's the last time. I hung up and sat in the dark for a long time. David wrapped his arms around me. "It's about Mike, isn't it?" I nodded. "They're going to bail him out. What do you want to do?" "I want to go home. But I doubt it'll change anything." That weekend, I left our child with David and drove back to the town that felt both familiar and foreign. The house was filled with tension. Mike had locked himself in his room. My mother's eyes were puffy. My father looked like he'd aged 10 years in a week. I didn't speak to Mike. Instead, I sat down with my parents. "Where's the money coming from?" "We'll use our retirement savings," my mother whispered. "And once it's gone, if you get sick or need something urgent, we'll be fine. We're healthy. Mike will pay us back someday." "How can you believe that? He can't even control himself. What makes you think he'll honor that promise?" "Sarah, how can you say that about your brother?" my mother snapped. "He made a mistake. He's a victim. Instead of comforting him, you're attacking him." "I'm not attacking. I'm telling the truth. Bailing him out isn't saving him, it's enabling him. You're telling him he can make any mistake and you'll always clean it up. You're not helping. You're destroying him." The conversation ended badly. I tried talking to Mike, but he either ignored me or brushed me off with, I know, it won't happen again." On the way home, I felt hollow. The real issue wasn't just Mike's addiction. It was my parents' warped, unconditional love. They weren't loving a son. They were preserving an ideal. Anyone who challenged that ideal became the enemy. So I changed my approach. I stopped arguing. Instead, I began forwarding articles in our family WhatsApp group, pieces like How Gambling Destroys Middle-Class Families, A Gambler's Brain, Why They Can't Stop, Living with a Gambling Addict, Setting Boundaries. I never added comments. Just links. No one ever responded. The money hole was patched up, but the trust cracks in Mike's marriage deepened. His wife, Jessica, a kind, simple woman, thought she had married for love, only to discover she'd married a bottomless pit. The fights escalated, spilling from the bedroom into the family chat. "Mike, you gambled again. What about our bills?" "You don't get it. It's an investment. I'll flip it soon." "You're a liar. A total liar." My mother always jumped in to defend him. "Jessica, don't talk to Mike like that. He's under a lot of stress. Men work hard out there. Home should be their safe space. Maybe if you weren't such a big spender, he wouldn't need to make quick money." The victim was blamed. The guilty was shielded. I read these twisted justifications and felt sick. I stayed silent. I knew that the moment I spoke up, I'd be lumped in with Jessica and torn apart. One night, Jessica called me sobbing. "Sarah, I can't take it anymore. He maxed out new credit cards. He stole money I saved for my mom's surgery. When I confronted him, he pushed me. I listened, comforted her. But I knew, telling her to stay would be the cruelest lie. "Jessica," I finally said, "you are worthy. You deserve peace. Ask yourself what life you want. Whatever you decide, do it for you." Soon after, Jessica filed for divorce. My mother screamed at me over the phone. "She wants a divorce. As his sister, aren't you going to stop her? Mike's done nothing to deserve this." I said I would talk to Jessica. I never did. Saving a woman from fire isn't a sin. Forcing her back into it is. Mike's house, fully paid for by our parents, was sold to pay his new debts. I thought that loss would wake him up. I was wrong. He didn't hit rock bottom. He embraced it. By 2023, his debts had ballooned past $100,000. My parents' savings were gone. Mike dropped all pretense. He quit his job, saying he was too depressed to focus. He lay on their couch like a corpse, and he began emotionally blackmailing them. No money? Fine. I'll starve. I'll kill myself. I'll crash the car. He'd scream at night, smashing things. A vase. A lamp. A TV. The breaking glass was his drumbeat of rage, and my parents' soundtrack of guilt. This is your fault. If you'd just given me more to start my business, I wouldn't have gambled. They began begging relatives, old friends, even co-workers for loans, spinning a sanitized story. Our son's business failed. He needs help. But truth spreads fast in small towns. Soon, everyone knew Mike was a hopeless gambler. Old friends avoided them. Relatives whispered. I watched like a cold spectator. My mother called in tears almost daily. I listened. Gave no advice. Offered no money. Sarah, he's driving us insane. Can't you do something? Mom, what can I do? You've already paid off how many debts? And where are we now? But he swore. He swore this is the last time. And you believe him? Silence. Long and heavy. David once asked me, are we really going to do nothing? They're your parents. I leaned against him. David, it's not that I don't want to help. I can't. Addicts are black holes. They consume everything. If I get pulled in, we all go down. I need to protect our family. You understand? He held me tight. I understand. And I support you. I've read stories of billionaires with addicted siblings. In the end, many of them also chose to let go. Not out of cruelty, but clarity. Money cannot fix a broken soul. It only feeds the sickness. We have $150,000 in savings and income from 2 rental homes. David gives me full control. But I know, I must guard this fiercely. It's for our future, our child, and even my parents when they truly need it. I'll pay their medical bills. I'll send money for groceries. But not a dime for Mike's abyss. That $100,000 could buy my parents 10 years in the best retirement home. I won't waste it cleaning up someone else's ruin. Eventually, with all other options gone, Mike begrudgingly took a factory job from one of Dad's old friends. He didn't change. His paycheck vanished in days. Then came the messages. Hey sis, can I borrow $50? Lost my wallet, no food. Gas tank's empty. Can you send me $20? I usually sent it, not out of belief, but strategy. In his world, I was the broke sister living off her husband. He couldn't ask for much. And for me, a few dollars was a cheap price to maintain the facade and the peace. He thanked me, thinking I was struggling but generous. It was absurd, but it worked. Thanks to that illusion of poverty, our life stayed intact. David's black Mercedes S-Class only sits at his office. He drives a used Toyota Camry home. Our house looks humble, even cozy. Our life is calm. That quiet, earned through restraint, is worth more than any luxury. As for my parents' debts, I stay out of it. I know it humiliates them. I know it burdens their old age. But it's the consequence they must bear. Without true pain, they will never wake up. I still play the dutiful daughter. I send gifts, check on their health. I remind them subtly that though I'm struggling, I care. When they are truly old, unable to work, I'll step up. I'll provide a dignified life. But every cent will go directly to their needs, not into the pit that is Mike. That I owe them, but no more.